unboxing the A7S III. So, the moment we've all been waiting for. So, this camera, it feels beefy. I wasn't expecting it to feel this beefy, but well, I gotta tell you, this camera is still relevant even 3 years later. I've owned this thing. I purchased this thing November 1st. So it's been just over 3 years with this camera, and I unboxed it here on this channel. I can't believe it's already been 3 years. Just crazy. A lot of crazy fun stuff that has happened in the last 3 years, but this camera was a purchase that I was like, I'm buying this because it's gonna last me at least 5 years, and I feel like I've got another 5 years out of this thing easily, but we'll see. Let's get in. I'm going to tell you why this camera still holds up even 3 years later and why you can still consider purchasing it. What's up, guys? If you're new here, my name is Paul, and I run a channel that inspires other creators that your future is whatever you make it. I do that through gear reviews, tutorials, and today I'm going over one of my favorite purchases that I've made at all for camera gear. Actually, I'm holding them both in this hand. I did a video. I just got done recording a video on why this 16-35 G Master lens is still a great purchase, even for the version 1. And this combo right here is just unmatched. And I gotta say, I really love this foul cam, horizontal mount. It has been a cool tool for this thing. Just to be able to have the easy ability to turn and switch into horizontal mode and do all that fun stuff. Not that I ever really use it for that a lot. It's funny, but I don't really use it for that as much as I thought I would. But I absolutely love this, holding it as a grip right here and just having it as a side handle essentially. And then it has this top mount. Anyway, I'm not reviewing this right now. I really do need to do a video on that. Falcam, I'm just surprised they're that lenient on me. They sent this thing to me a while ago, and I still haven't even done a video on it. This A7S III is amazing. Gosh, I started with the A7 III, and then I got this A7Siii, which I'm shooting on right now, and the 24mm lens, which is one of my favorite all-time prime lenses from the Sony. It is my favorite prime lens, but that combo is great. But this camera just, it pushed me into a whole nother world, between having the 10-bit colors. I pretty much always shoot in S-Log3 with this thing now. I'm so used to color grading, it doesn't bother me at all. It just pushed me into a whole nother level when I got this camera. And I knew that when I bought it, I was like, this thing's gonna last me at least 5 years, at least. And now I look at it today and I'm like, there's still no cameras that even kind of get close to touching it. I mean, with the exception of the A9 III that just came out, global shutter is going to be the next big future, and I'm sure the version of this camera is probably going to have that, but I don't think it's going to be coming out until maybe next year or possibly the year after. This thing is still a workhorse. When this first came out, the FX3 wasn't even out yet, and when the FX3 came out, I was like, that thing is amazing, and has a lot of stuff in the menus that I love, but it's this camera. It's all it is. And so I quickly got over that and was like, you know what, this camera is still all I need. And as more and more cameras get released, like the ZVE1, that camera looks amazing. It's got dynamic stabilization, and then everything else is pretty much this camera right here. I mean, they're building a lot of their amazing cameras on this A7S III. I mean, this thing, Sony's big thing, when they released this thing 3 years ago, this was their release of it. When the A7 III came out, that thing turned heads like crazy, and tons of people were switching to Sony. Well, when this thing came out, tons more people switched to Sony that I never even thought would switch to Sony. Armando Ferreira, Matty Hopoya, those guys, I never thought in my life those guys would ever leave Canon, and now they are Team Sony, And it's all because of this camera right here. It's got so many features packed into it. If you can get one of these used for a deal, jump on it, because this thing is still relevant today, even 3 years later. Like, this thing is amazing. I absolutely love this camera. The flippy screen, the 10-bit color, the Hotshoe that can take the ECM B1M mic, like that's the B1M, like slap that on this thing, and this is like my go-to vlogging setup right now. Like, it's amazing. You know, you've got all this alignment of Sony lenses that you can use with the Sony system that is just incredible. Lightweight, heavy, with super sharp images. You got the 51.2. I mean, all this stuff is all built around a great camera and ecosystem that you can continue to use. And this 3 years later is still holding it up. I mean, the active stabilization has been amazing in this thing. I do a lot of handheld stuff. I barely pick up my gimbal anymore. I just don't like shooting with a gimbal. This thing is a beast in low light. I didn't realize how much of a beast or how much I would need it or want it once I had it, but I don't want to not have, as you know, anything less than this low light beast right here. I mean, it's absolutely amazing with the 12,800 ISO and just clear image, no problem. And you can go a little bit beyond that too if you wanted to, but holy cow, I gotta put NDs on here like crazy if I even am shooting in 12,800 in a lot of scenarios. So it's incredible. It absolutely is an incredible camera, and it's still holding up. It doesn't overheat, no issues whatsoever. 12 megapixels has been perfectly fine for photography for me with this thing. I mean, I haven't shot any real estate shoots with it because I have my A7C here that I just use the 24 megapixels because I'm supposed to. But when I'm shooting out with my friend like Kyle Watts, I just bring this camera and shoot all video and stills on this thing. And for a YouTuber or a content creator, there's still nothing that beats this thing right here. I mean, sure, if you want to save some money, the ZVE1, go for it. It's an amazing camera. It's overhyped with overheating. Just get it. The ZVE1 is this camera right here with no dual card slots in a smaller body. It can overheat easier than this one. I mean, I've never ever in my life had this thing in the last 3 years overheat on me at all. But the ZVE1, I guess I could get it to overheat, but once again, I live in Florida. We went to the theme parks with Kyle Watson. It didn't overheat at all. This thing is a beast. They wouldn't come out with a new camera last year with the same guts as this thing if this thing couldn't hold up. Man, I can go on and on and on about this. This camera has been amazing, and it looks like brand new. It still looks like I took it out of the box through that day 3 years ago when I unboxed it, and this thing has been a game changer for me, and I don't even feel limited by it. So there's no reason for me to upgrade to a new camera, even though they're starting to come out with all these new flashy features. When I just touch the surface and use a lot of the features of this thing. I love 4K, full 4K S&Q mode. I can't do that on my A7C. This thing just chops through it like butter. 120 frames per second with like a small minimum crop I don't even really notice. And I love shooting in slow motion for a lot of those, B-roll dynamic stuff. I mean, gosh, this camera literally does it all. And I haven't been sad. I haven't been like, oh, I can't believe I wasted my money on this. This camera has made my money back and some. And it still is being used today. And it will be used probably at least for the next 3 more years, because this thing is a beast. I've gotten way more money and value out of buying this when it first came out than I ever thought I would have. I thought I was only going to get like 5 years out of it, like I said. But it's... I feel like I'm ranting and I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. But between everything that this thing can do, the new menus, the flippy screen, if you can't afford this thing, get a ZVE1. But if you can't afford this thing, or you find a really good deal on it used, jump on it. It's a very capable camera, and it will be capable for the next 3 years at least, in my opinion. The A7 III is still a very capable camera, and it came out years and years ago, other than the fact that it can't shoot 4K 120 or 4K 60. Still, its predecessor can the biggest upgrade over it, or the A7 IV to the A7 III, is a little bit tweaked colors, 10-bit, which is probably a bigger deal than anything else, and then 60 frames per second. But the A7 III is still a very capable camera. The A7C is still a very, very capable camera. Man, Sony is crushing it. And if you were thinking about jumping into the Sony system and you were looking at this camera and wondering if it's going to be worth the money, it absolutely is. Especially if you can find a great deal on it used. But I'm not looking back. I'm looking forward to the future and what Sony is going to continue to do in crushing it. Because the next camera that I buy from Sony, it's going to be another one of those where it's going to be, this camera will be the B camera for that camera. I'm still going to own this camera. And then I'm going to retire my A7C after like 6 years of using that one. So it's like a non-stop thing. I'll use this one for like 6+ years and then retire it when the next version of the camera comes out. So I always try to keep 2 Sony cameras, and I will only retire the third, the one of them when another version comes out that's newer than the one I had before. That's how I roll. And I always like to have one photography camera and one video camera. Focus. But this thing can do it all. This thing can do it all. If I had to and my A7C died today, I could still do all my real estate photography with this A7S III, and I guarantee you my clients wouldn't even know any different. And I'd be knocking out of the park my YouTube content with this thing just like I do now. This combo right here is the only thing I need. 16-35 G Master, A7S III. If I didn't have anything else, I could make do and do everything that I'm doing right now with that combo. It's a killer combo. Killer camera. If you like today's content, so please subscribe. I appreciate all of you tuning in to see this. Appreciate you. That's right, you. But like, subscribe, do all the fun YouTube-y things, and you guys know that I will see you in the future. Granted, way long enough, and I'm gonna have to edit like crazy because you suck, Paul, and you talk, and you can never script a video because you're a dumb loser. And but go buy the camera. Go buy the camera. Just do it. Go buy it. Stop this video right now. Can it?